How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today I want to talk to you about why I quit talking about stocks so much on my channel. So this is something that I've had a decent number of people ask me, and I've done a video about this before. I actually got a good amount of hate for it, but I want to describe why this is and tell you what I'm doing with my stock portfolio now, because I did not sell all my stocks or anything like that. I have still been investing in stocks, and I've changed something really recently that I want to tell you about. So if you guys don't mind hitting the like and subscribe button, I do appreciate that. Now, if you guys want to start investing in cryptocurrencies, there is a link to FTX underneath the video. They have some of the lowest fees of any platform out there. They allow you to invest in a lot of different cryptocurrencies and have a really user-friendly interface. And they give you 10% off transaction fees when you use the link underneath the video. You can also get some free crypto. If you invest $10 or more at a time, you get a chance to win a free crypto. So definitely check out that link underneath the video. So the crypto markets have been pretty volatile over the last year, although we have just pretty much traded sideways too, right? We have had a lot of up and a lot of down, and when we look a year back, we're pretty much sideways. Stock market has been kind of crazy too. Some of the large caps have gone up pretty significantly. A lot of the highly speculative stocks, the ones I was talking about a lot about a year ago, they have traded down and down and down. So about a year ago, I started to talk about cryptos a lot more on the channel. And this was not because I started hating stocks or I sold all my stocks or anything like that. It was because I saw a lot of potential in cryptocurrency. I hadn't really researched it much before the beginning of 2021. And after I researched it and saw the adoption that was happening and how much growth was happening in crypto and the fundamentals behind crypto, I saw a lot of potential, and I want to invest a lot of my own assets there. So I invested very heavily into crypto over the last year. And this, I think, was a very good opportunity where I could learn more about crypto and learn about different cryptos and invest pretty heavily at the same time. And what I do on the channel is I show you what I am learning. I show you what I see in the market. And if I'm spending 8 hours a day looking at crypto and learning about crypto, I'm probably going to spend the majority of my time on my channel talking about crypto as well. There was a lot of potential, and in the stock market, we just saw raising rates in the future, and we saw a lot of stocks fall down and down and down. Now, I want to give you just a little bit of a glimpse into what I'm doing, because I think I owe you that much if you have been following for a long time and you want to know what I'm doing with stocks. I still talk about it on the Patreon, but I made a big change recently, which I think I should lay out on the channel. So I bring this up also because one of the stocks I'm still invested in is Matterport, and it got crushed after earnings today. So in case you're wondering what happened with Matterport, real quick side note, they announced that they had some pretty significant growth in subscription revenue, but their revenue itself was not really growing that quickly, and their forward guidance, I think, is what really sent them down. So they're expecting over the next year to grow about 10%. So they have about 125 million to 135 million for 2022 guidance. And over the last 12 months, they've had about 112 or 115 million dollars in revenue. So they're not expecting much growth. And I think this is what's really killing them. They are a growth stock that is not growing. So I think this crushed them after earnings, but I just wanted to talk about that real quick because they just announced. But what I've done recently is I've started to invest more capital back into the stock market because I threw so much money into crypto over the last year that it grew much larger than my stock portfolio. And I want a good balance of real estate, stocks, and crypto. So I have started to allocate a significant amount towards my stocks. And I'm still dollar cost averaging into crypto too, and I have some money on the sidelines, but I have been buying a couple of stocks really significantly. So if you remember, I had talked about penny stocks and SPACs, and I was always very careful about those different opportunities because I saw them as high risk, at least in penny stocks, SPACs. Depending on where they are in their life cycle, they're high risk or they're not high risk, but I saw that all as a temporary thing. And when I saw the markets falling down, I sold out of the majority of my penny stocks. And recently, I trimmed my portfolio to just handle about 5 to 8 stocks. So 2 are really significant holdings for me. Then the rest are kind of broken down. So I'll lay out the top holdings here. Number 1 is Alphabet. So Alphabet was one that I bought heavily right before their earnings. And it wasn't necessarily because of their earnings coming up or anything like that. I try not to buy right ahead of earnings or sell or make judgment calls because their earnings are coming up. But that was when I decided that I really need to cut down on my overall positions because I just had too many. So I have put about a third of my portfolio in Google, and they beat very heavily in their last earnings on revenue and earnings per share. So they went up pretty significantly. Now they've kind of come down a little bit from that hype, but they did have a lot of growth. And the fact is they are just so consistent from all their different revenue models. They are one of the strongest companies out there. They have a great balance sheet, and they're still growing at about 40 to 60% over the last 3 quarters. So they are a growth beast right now, and they're just so darn stable. They also are trading at not too bad a valuation when you look at their historical valuations here, because they've been around this cost, about $2,700, for about 6 months. So this is not very expensive. They're only at about a 23 forward price to earnings ratio. The second company that I bought, that I've been buying pretty heavily, and it's another third of my portfolio, so a third in Alphabet and a third in this company, is Tesla. And Tesla's a little bit of a company that people either love or hate. It's very polarizing, but they've been growing very quickly too. They're going to deliver a lot of vehicles. When you just look at their growth here, it's very high. They continue to come in with more and more revenue, and while they're only doing about 1 million cars in deliveries, which is much smaller than a lot of the top car brands, the fact is their margins are much higher. And they also are going to continue to grow, so they're going to have more higher and higher margin. They also are beating every other company out there in terms of electric vehicle sales, electric vehicle technology also. And the fact is they don't have to do any advertising because everyone loves their vehicles that has them. And I realize that some people say, there are safety concerns, or some people don't like them, and there's always going to be outliers, but the majority of people love their vehicles, and the fact is they just need to be able to produce more at this point. They also have a couple huge S-curves coming for them, which is full self-driving, and then also if they can get into the robot market and make that get in there before other companies do, that is a very, very large opportunity. I realize that's probably a decade out, but they're going to have so much money to invest in it from how high a margin business they are, that they will probably be one of the first companies in that space, and that is a huge opportunity as well. And then those two companies account for about 66.6% of my portfolio. The next biggest one is Meta. So I realize that they're beaten down really heavily after their last earnings report, and they're almost turning into a value stock. Fact is that their price to earnings is really low right now historically. I mean, we're talking about a 17 price to earnings moving forward. So this is very low, and even if you think about them as just an advertising company, the fact is that they are still growing. And even though their user base didn't grow last quarter, the fact is they're making more money from their user base. So I believe overall it still grew for their family of apps, but on Facebook app itself, it stopped growing. So they still are getting more revenue, and they are highly exposed to Asia, and Asia is being valued a lot less. They're making a lot less per person than they are here in the US on ads. But as that economy continues to develop, they will get more and more money from them, and it is a very quickly growing area. I do also believe in the metaverse. I know that they're spending a lot of money on it now, but I think their Oculus and that part of their company is genius. I think that there's a huge amount of money to be made on the Oculus. Every time I show it to someone new, they absolutely love it, and they do have an app store. So that's going to be huge for other revenue. Once there's more people on it, it'll be kind of like the App Store. The App Store accounts for about a fourth of Apple's revenue, so they don't even have to do any work on that. As long as there are enough people using it, people will come in knowing that they can make money selling apps, and Facebook will be able to take advantage of that. Then I do hold some Matterport. I also hold some Palantir. They're probably my next two biggest holdings. And then I do own some crypto companies such as CleanSpark. So they recently announced their fourth quarter earnings. They grew revenues pretty significantly, had good earnings per share. They've been growing a lot in their mining business. So they've been beaten down a lot, but they have come up a little bit over the last few days. So I still own a couple of these different crypto related companies like Voyager, CleanSpark, Coinbase, but those are a much smaller portion of my overall portfolio in stocks because I am so highly exposed to crypto. So I just wanted to bring this to you to talk to you a little bit about why I haven't been talking about stocks so much on the channel. And if you've noticed, I have talked about them a little bit more recently, but I'm still not making a lot of dedicated videos because I think there's just so much happening in the crypto space that I think it makes a lot more sense to talk about that than it does to talk about some of these stocks, especially because I am only invested in a few right now. There isn't as much news as there happens to be in the crypto space. But if you guys like this, please let me know. Let me know if you want to see more stock videos. There's a link underneath the video to FTX. Don't forget about that, and I'll see you in the next one.